All right, guys, so as a percussionist, we kind of have a weird situation we have to get around. And let me describe this first. If you're a trumpet player, your instrument's right in front of your face, and your music stand's probably right in front of your face, and the director is right in front of your face. Everything's right here. But as a percussionist, our instruments are down here, music stand's usually about here, and then we have to look up to look at the director. So the problem is we got a lot of things we got to focus on in our line of sight, and that makes it very challenging for us to be able to follow a conductor, follow the sheet music that you have to read, and know where you are on your instrument, because you're not ever connected to your instrument. It's not like trumpet. Trumpet's like stuck on your face. It's not going anywhere. Your percussion instruments, you're always detached from them, and you have to be very careful that you're accurate when you're playing your instrument. So like whether you're playing mouths or snare drum or whatever it is, the instrument is not touching your body. You have to find it and hit it. And then somehow you have to follow your sheet music and watch your director at the same time. So what we're going to do is work on something that will help you speed up this process. The process is, how do you take what's on the sheet music, interpret it in your head into what you have to do musically, but at the same time follow the director. And in my opinion, I feel like the better we can get you to identify the notes quickly, that at least makes this process easier, so that you can focus more on this, but then also be comfortable enough where you can focus on that too. All right, so the first thing I'm having my students do is we're getting some blank line paper, and we're gonna write 8 notes in random places, note heads anyway, in random places, and space it out so that it's legible. And we're just gonna fill the whole sheet up with it. And then what we're going to do after that is I'm going to have the students write down the letter names under the notes, and we're going to try to do this as quickly as we can with this whole page so that we can get some practice on note identification. The better we get at doing this, then the easier it is to go from sheet music in a book to the bells, and once we're comfortable with that, following a director. Alright, so what we did is we put a bunch of random notes on empty staff paper, and then after we did that, I'm having my students write down the letter names under each note as quickly as possible. And we did, I don't know, what is it, 6 lines of it? And the reason why we're doing this is we're trying to speed up the process of seeing a note on a page and identifying what it is. If we speed up that process, it makes applying that then to a percussion instrument a lot less frustrating. So we're improving our skill set having to do with seeing a note, identifying it. That's kind of what we're focusing on. Now, since we wrote all this stuff out, a way that we can save paper and time is when we're done with this, instead of writing out a whole new sheet, you can actually take the whole thing and put it upside down and then write it out this way. So literally these are just random notes on a page, you know, probably doesn't sound musical. And what I am doing is sight reading right now. I'm looking at the pitches and then I'm writing them down, and so far I think I'm being pretty accurate with this. And then it's always good to go back and have someone else double check what you're doing so that bad habits aren't creeping in. So for instance, if you're just learning to do this and you start calling that F some other note, then you can sometimes habitually continue to call that F some other note. So that's why it's good to have somebody else to check you to make sure you're not creating bad habits or learning things wrong. Alright, so what we're going to talk about briefly is, since you're working on your skill set of note identification, when you start applying this to playing your instrument, how do you want to set up your instrument and your music stand relative to each other, but also relative to your director or conductor? Well, the first thing you want to do is any percussion instrument that you have, you want to set it up to be about waist high, or maybe a little bit more than that, because you essentially, if you can, want to create something of a 90-degree angle. You don't want to be reaching up or reaching down for your instrument. You want to be comfortable. Comfort's super important. The other thing to keep in mind is if you drop your hands to your side and you just bring the mallets up, bending at your elbows, that's about your playing position right there. If I were to be closer, then I'm going to have to pull my arms back. If I'm further away, then I have to push my arms forward. Part of what I'm getting at here is I want you to be relaxed when you're playing. Now, the way the music stand is set up right now has me looking straight down into it. The problem with this is then I can't see the director. And let's pretend that coffee cup over there is my director or conductor. If I'm having to look down like this, then I can't see what he's doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift this up some. This old school piece of crud music stand. Alright, so now this is a lot better. Now I can see the music, and now with my peripheral vision, I can see what's going on with the conductor. So if he's flapping his arms trying to fly, I can see where he's flapping his arms so I can see what's going on with his time. So now I can see him, I can see the music stand, and I can see my instrument. If you get up real close like this, which some people do, you might think you can see the sheet music better, but here's the problem: is you're so close to this now, you can't see what's going on with the director, and you can't see what's going on with your percussion instrument in front of you. So if you have that healthy distance I was just mentioning before, now you can see this, and you can see all of this. Now most of your focus with your eyes will be on your sheet music. Right there. So that's most of my focus because I got to read this thing. But out of my peripheral vision, I got my instrument here. So I can still see all the keys and be somewhat accurate even though I'm staring at this. And I can also understand what the conductor's doing if he's moving his arms and conducting out of my peripheral vision even though I'm staring at this. Okay, so when we're working on sight reading, the first step is seeing a note on a page, identifying what it is, and getting good at that. That's why we're writing them down, so we can just focus on that part. The second part is once you know what the note is, finding it on your keyboard instrument, or whatever it is you're playing, quickly, and then playing it. So my assistant here is going to call out like a dozen notes or something, and I'm going to find it as quickly as I can and play it. So go ahead.
B, G, D, C, F, D, A, B, F, E.
Alright, that's enough. So if you can get somebody else to help you, just call out letter names, and then you work on finding them on your keyboard instrument. The more you practice that, the faster you'll get at that. So let's back up a second. What we're trying to work on is you take the note on the page, figure out what it is in your head, then find it on the keyboard, then play it. So I guess that's really kind of a four-step process. See the note on the page, determine what it is, find it on the keyboard, play it. If you want to speed that process up so you can become a good reader and a good sight reader, you got to practice it that way. But what we're doing is we're streamlining it. We're breaking it down to the first two steps, which is see a note, identify what it is. Quicker we can do that, then it makes it easier for us to do this part, which is find the note on the keyboard and then play it. The quicker we can do that whole process, that'll improve our sight reading skills significantly. Also, it makes it a lot less frustrating. If I had a music stand here, some sheet music there, and my instrument here, and I'm doing this the whole time, look at the page, figure out what the note is, look at the keyboard, find the note on the keyboard, then play it. If you're doing that per note, that's really frustrating. So what we're doing is we're streamlining it into two segments. This part here with the sheet music, this part here with the keyboard. So that we can make it a little bit less frustrating while we're working on these skills.
F, G, E, C, E, B, D, A, F, B, C, A, G, C, D,